Hello and welcome to Edupedia World. So, as I said in the ending of the last video, we will now be talking about rendering. And what rendering is a process where the computer calculates light bounces, or whatever you can call it. So what we are basically doing is that we are telling the computer to, let's say if we put the camera right here, then we're telling the computer to calculate how all the light in the scene bounces around, and then it's going to generate a picture for us. So this is probably one of the most simple scenes I have ever made. It's basically 6 spheres, some cylinders, a plane, a cube and a pyramid, and then 2 figures. So if we were to let's try and just highlight all of this, right click, show just project information, then you can see the amount of polygons. We have got 9,000 polygons, 24 objects. I actually don't know where all these points are coming from, because it's like, yeah, okay, there are 400 polygons. It's probably these trees or something, but there are only 9,000 polygons in this scene, and that is basically next to nothing. I've got scenes that I've got like 10 million, 40 million polygons or something. So this is very simple. There are also nothing, no lights or anything. So this is going to be very easy for the program to render. So how do we actually render? Well, the easiest way and the simplest way is just clicking this button, and there we go. The scene is now rendered. As you can see, all the lines disappeared, and we got these very smooth surfaces, and there's a bit of highlights and stuff. And we can go over here, render from all different angles, and the program does it very quickly. You can see it's normally, if we go outside and look at something from different angles, you're going to be seeing different light from different angles. But in this setup, we haven't got any lights. We're only using what's called the standard lights that Cinema 4D has. So as we can see, no matter where we are looking at this scene from, we're going to get the same highlights on these trees, and that basically means we won't like get any shadows or anything. It's all the same light from every angle. So how I do this, let's just take a look at how we can render. So you can render by clicking this button and it will render this picture viewer, or you can do Control R and that will render. Okay, then we can now start making this look a bit more interesting, because right now this is extremely boring. So if we were to look maybe down here and render, then you will see we get a dull, completely boring plane here at the bottom, and then this cylinder that just comes to a sharp end like that. And that's because of 2 reasons. First of all, we have got very simple modeling, so it's just 2 almost completely straight surfaces, and also because we haven't got anything called ambient occlusion. And what ambient occlusion does is that it adds like shadows to these corners and all the places where there are small little curves and stuff, or small like indents and stuff. Ambient occlusion fills that up with like shadows and stuff. So we can try and add some ambient occlusion to this scene. So if you go up to this this icon here, it's called Edit Render Settings, and you can get to it by doing Control B. Then we can add an effect. So you don't actually have to do anything with these settings. You can just go down here to Effect and then find the effect called Ambient Occlusion. It's here in the top. Bam. And that's about it. Just close this and do Control R once again. So if we were to look down here at the corner again, then we will see that this time there are actually a bit of shadow here in this corner. And if we were to look at these men, then we can actually see there are some shadows where their joints are. They are like standing and there is a shadow. And in my opinion, this looks much nicer. It adds a lot of realism, because if you look, maybe you've got your keyboard, look under the keyboard and see, well, there's a shadow. Everything, almost everything casts these kind of shadows. So right now we can actually see that this man is floating in the air. Let's try and correct that. Let's just do it like this. See, now his shadows look a bit different than this guy's, because he's still floating in the air. Just move him down. And there we go. So we have now added ambient occlusion, but that doesn't change the fact that all our light is coming from Cinema 4D's standard lights that just are in this scene, and they're in every scene that doesn't have any lights. So let's try and add a light. So we can come up here to the light menu and click and hold, and then we've got all these different options. So there are 7 options. I will just choose the symbol light. And now something interesting happened. We've got a light that we can move around, and as you can see, this light actually creates shadow on the side of these objects that aren't being lit. So let's try and place it over here to the side, and then come over here and do Control R. And as you can see, all the trees, everything is only being lit from that side. There we go. There are no light on this side, only on the side over here where the light comes from. So you will notice a few things. Even though they aren't being casted any light of this side, there are still no shadows. And also you cannot see the light. So that's a few things to keep in mind. You can't see the Cinema 4D lights. They are invisible, as you can see. And also they don't cast any shadows by default. So just to help you guys, you can see here in the menu we've got our light. You can select the light. You can move it around. And if you want to, you can, with the light selected, press delete and it will disappear. Let's just undo that. And we will now try to add a shadow. So adding shadows to lights, it's done individually. So you can have 5 lights in your scene, and only one of them will cast shadows. So let's take this light, go into the properties panel, and you can see there's a bunch of different things: details, visibility, shadow. Shadow is what we want. So we've got 3 different options. Let's just pick this. Let's say ray traced hard shadow. And Control R, and this is what we get. So if we just render this, you will see that these shadows are extremely hard. There's no soft edge to them. It's basically just shadow, no shadow. And well, you can use this to make some kind of effect. Maybe you want extremely harsh shadows. Maybe you're standing on the moon where there are extremely harsh shadows. But in the real world, shadows are not this hard, and that's why we have got some other options. Before we change the shadow type, let's just first change the density. So let's put this down to, let's say, 58, render again, and now you can see our really hard shadows are actually looking much more natural. You can actually also change the color. So now we've got red shadows. Looks pretty interesting. Let's make them black once again and put this up to 100 again. So we've got these very harsh shadows. We can then change it to, let's say, shadow maps, soft, Control R, and we get these much softer shadows. And if we are outside, then these shadows are much more realistic, because it's not only the sun that's, or well, it is the sun that's adding light to our world, but it's not just shining on everything outside from one point. It's actually shining from, it's like illuminating the whole sky, and then the sky is illuminating the ground. So it's coming from a lot of different angles, which means that that it's gonna be soft shadows like we see right here. So you can see you can change the shadow map size, and this will basically change the way the shadow looks. And you can do different stuff. I don't know, outline. There are some different options with this, and they are pretty cool. But this is still, sorry, let's do 60. This is still not the way that I like to do my shadows. Actually, this looks pretty nice, but it's still not the best. So if we were to choose an area shadow, just render this, then we will see that the area shadows take a bit more time to render, but they give the absolute most realistic result. So if we look at the light again, then we'll see when we put it to an area shadow, it actually got this little rectangle or square around it, and that basically means that the light is like coming from this whole surface. And as you can see, if it's shining from a surface, that means it will give softer shadows. So we can move this, just press R to rotate it so that it points down to our scene a little bit better. Will make a big difference. You have again got the density, the color. You can change the accuracy, and then the samples. So that basically decides how many like ray bounces and stuff it does to the shadow before it's done. So if we increase this, it's going to get more smooth, but the render time is going to increase. Let's just try and control drag, put this light over here, rotate it a bit, and then render again. So as you can see, now we've got two lights, and they're shining from each direction. So that gives us some pretty interesting shadows. Some goes this direction, some goes the other direction. I don't want that, so I'll just take this light over here, and then I'll put the shadow to none. And this means that I will still get the light on this side, but but I'll not get the shadows. So I'll only have shadows in one direction, but I'll still have lights from two sides. So this is not made to look anywhere near realistic, but this just gives a pretty good demonstration of what you can do with lights. So let's try and take this light up here, go to general, change the color to something like a blue, and then we will decrease the intensity to something like 35. Pick the other light, change the color to a yellow, and then increase the intensity, and let's make it actually like only 3.3% yellow. Render, and now we've got these pretty cool blue shadows and a bit more yellow tint, like the light was coming from the sun. It's just a bit more yellow, and there we go. So you may be asking, how can I add some color to this? Because right now it's just gray and then the color of the light. So we can create a simple and very quick material. So remember, we are just in the this is just the introduction to Cinema 4D, so I'll be doing this very simple. If we go up down here to the material panel, we will be able to create a material. So you can do create new material, or delete this, and or you can just double click, call it something. Okay, you can't change this, just double click, you will get the material editor. We can call this paint, because this is going to be the color of the house. So paint, select the color channel, and when you start it up, the color channel is actually pre-selected, and you can then go in and change the color. So click right here and just pick the color of your house. So I'll make a dark red house like that. You've got something called Reflectance Channel. You can see all the different channels. They are right now turned off. If you click this button, they will be turned on. So for this house, I actually don't want any reflections. I'll just want this dark red color. So I will only have the color channel selected. If I turn off the color channel, it will just turn completely black, because no channels are activated. So let's just only have the color, and now let's take a look at how we can apply this color. So we've got our house. If we open up the house, you'll see, as we maybe remember from when we created it, it consists of a pyramid and a cube. So I want the cube, which are the sides of the house, to have this red color. So it's actually very simple. I just highlight the cube like this, take my texture and click and drag it onto this cube, and then you can see two things happen. The cube changes color, and here besides the cube we get this little red box, which basically means that a material has been applied. And if you look at this box, it's the same as the box down here. So you can see, okay, this is the paint material. If you click on it, right here, you can see, okay, it's paint. And you can go down here and see, okay, well, it's the paint material. There are different stuff like how it's projected onto the cube. And with these simple colors, it doesn't matter, so I won't go into any details. The mapping comes in when we use pictures. So let's start creating some other material. So the roof, I want a gray, dark gray roof, and let's give it some reflectance. So let's just let this stay activated and drag it onto the roof. There we go. Let's give these trees some color. So go into color, remove the reflectance, and just find a green color. There we go. And we can drag this onto all the trees that we want to have this color. Let's make a color for the wood. So wood does not need any reflectance, because how often do you look at like a tree and then go like, holy cow, this wood reflects light? Well, you probably think that let's count 0 times in your life you've never looked at wood and thought, holy cow, it's reflecting light. And that's because wood does not reflect light. So these materials, they've got, if we go in here, you can see there are some realistic settings, like the color, the transparency, the reflectance, the bump means like the bumpy surface and stuff. So there are a lot of these things that are true to nature, or just kinda true, and you need to match these settings with whatever you're creating. So you can see this is just some cartoon stuff. That means, of course, if we did this in real life, we would have like a wood texture, like a picture of actual wood that would then get wrapped around this cylinder. But since this is just the introduction, it's very simple, we'll not be doing that. Let's make a quick skin color, no reflection, because, well, I don't know, people probably don't reflect light. Let's make some very Scandinavian color. I don't know. Add that onto these guys. And the ground, let's make the ground. Let's make the ground green, like grass, but a bit lighter than these trees. So as you can see, now we've got some color. And if we do Control R, then our picture is actually coming together pretty nicely, if you ask me. So as you can see, we've got these guys standing here, and the only thing I can say about this that I don't like is these very dark shadows, because in my opinion nothing is that dark in the real life. So I will actually pick a color that's a bit lighter, maybe like this, maybe like the sky, and increase the intensity. Let's try and render once again. And now, in my opinion, this is much better. We've got some weird shadows on these trees, and you can sort that out by actually adding more lights. So let's put this over here like that, and let's put another light over here and another light over here. This may make it so that there are too much light, but it's going to be better than nothing. So you can see, you can change this around however you want. Try messing around with these settings. Maybe move this light around, move it up a bit, rotate it. So right now you can see it's being rotated in some weird way. We want this, one of these axes to move, like be aligned to this plane. So you can go into, well, of course you can't right now when I want to show you guys. Oh, pick this guy and it will use the object rotation system. Sometimes you're able to use this instead. I honestly don't know why it got changed. But right now we can more precisely aim this down at the ground, move it up, and render. So right now we can see we've got our really nice cartoonish render. We've got some nice trees with a bit of shadows. We've got these guys down here. We can go down and say, hello mister, how is your day? Let's just try and render you and see how you look. So you've got some pretty nasty, you're not that smooth today. I don't know if you didn't shave or anything. Look at these trees, they're really nice. They look very cartoonish. I know. So as you can see right now, we're actually pretty close to being able to make cool commercials for like, I don't know, shampoo or something, or kids' toys or something. I don't know. So this is just, yeah, I don't know. If I didn't have to explain all of this would have taken like 2 minutes to create. So as you can see, it's a pretty powerful tool. Let's just take a look at the last thing, which is a camera. You create a camera by just clicking right here, or click and drag down on this box, and you can see this white box appeared. If we were to move our camera, then you will see that there has actually been placed an actual camera in the world. So we can move it around, and we can do all sorts of stuff. So if we were to move this down and in here, we can see, yeah, that our camera is like, we can change the perspective of the camera. If we were to click on this little I don't know, crosshair besides the camera, we are able to move in and out of the camera's view. So right now we are looking from where the camera is looking, and if we change our view, then let's just move it over here. If we go outside of the view, then you'll see the camera has moved with it. So you remember it was over here before, over here in this position, it's now over here. So that way we can change the position of the camera. If you have used a real photography camera or video camera, you'll know that there's something called focal length, and that's basically like how much the camera is zoomed in or zoomed out. And with a camera, you can actually change the focal length compared to just this view right here. You are not able to change the focal length, and well, different focal lengths tell different stories. So let's just make a nice shot from over here. We can maybe take this figure and move him over here, rotate him just a little bit, and then just look over his shoulder like he's talking to this other dude. Blah 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 blah. And maybe we want this to be zoomed in even more. Maybe let's do 80mm. You can see you've also got some other presets: portrait, tele, super tele, all that stuff. I will just use this portrait. And let's render. Sorry, Control R. And our picture is now being rendered. So when we move on in this series, I will teach you exactly how you can use all the different options in this program. So you're gonna be able to do animation. You're gonna be able to know how to rig these characters so you can make them move. You can animate the camera. You can make them look much more realistic than this. We will actually be creating an X-Wing from Star Wars. We'll be modeling it, texturing it, adding lighting, and we'll also be compositing it on top of some video that we got to shoot. So in the end, you will be able to add an X-Wing to your backyard. And if you get really good, you're gonna be able to make it look like it's shooting everything to pieces. So you can see there are also some other options like the sensor size, I don't know, 36 millimeters, that's like, I don't know, yeah, no, sorry, 35, that's movie. You can add the physical render stuff. That's a bit more advanced, we'll cover that later. But this was actually about it for our simple overview of Cinema 4D. We know how to add simple objects, we know how to add lights, we know how to add textures, and we know how to render an image. We know how to add ambient occlusion. So yeah, that was about it. Thank you for watching Edupedia World. Stay tuned for more videos.